It is Wednesday morning, right after the 10 a.m. news, and that's when we check in with our friends at the Blacklocks Reporter. I want you to do something, okay? Go to blacklocks.ca, and right there you'll see a red button on the front of the website, just in the upper left corner, says subscribe now. One of our regular and loyal listeners to this show, Ernie, has emailed frequently about this segment. He said, Farwell, every time I hear Tom Korski from Blacklocks Reporter, I get all fired up, but it's one of my favorite segments on the show every week. Look, we're not intending to get you fired up, but this is the thing, and this is why I want you to go to blacklocks.ca and hit subscribe now, because when I read this stuff, much like Ernie, I'm raising an eyebrow or I'm saying, what? Is that really happening? These are the things. But if we don't support journalism like this, then withers on the vine and goes away, and then nobody is minding Ottawa's business. So I'll encourage you to support it, and we will continue having these conversations on a weekly basis with the managing editor at Blacklocks Reporter, Mr. Tom Korski, who joins us again this morning. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Mike, and I want to thank Ernie. I think I went to high school with her.
Well played, sir, and that's fine. High school buddies can support your work, too. They qualify. Looking ahead to July the 1st, 2026, Tom, I don't know. I'm trying to read between the lines here of MP Karina Gould's petition or motion, but are we looking at perhaps a new way of celebrating Canada Day in the future?
Member for Burlington and a woman who wanted to be Prime Minister of Canada did sponsor a petition. You're correct. Anyone can look it up on the House of Commons website. It is electronic petition E6690. And it proposes that as a condition of any funding whatsoever, community celebrations on the 1st of July include a prominent Indigenous component, such as, I quote from the petition, sacred fires or other appropriate ceremony, end of quote. This is interesting, Mike, because the Department of Heritage came up with a somewhat similar internal report last year, and it said that Canada Day is evolving and that there should be an attempt made by those who subsidize, award these $5,000, $10,000 grants to local groups to keep up with the times. So enough of Johnny MacDonald and Confederation. We want to make it hip now today. You definitely want to keep an eye on that one.
We certainly will. In Burlington, not far from our neck of the woods here in the region of Waterloo. Okay, we just had a conversation in our opening segment today, Tom, with Ian Lee from Carleton University about the state of our federal finances, the upcoming budget, etc. And I'm wondering if the National Research Council kind of missed the memo on the dire financial straits in Ottawa. An old library being retrofitted into a new and engaging place?
It's funny. They either missed the memo or they are able to see through the baloney of public statements. We're going to find out pretty soon on that November 4th budget. Here is the National Research Council. They're fully funded. They're flush. And they have some empty buildings. You'll recall the Prime Minister said we have to address the housing crisis. We're going to make an emphasis on Crown lands and unused property be directed and refit for public housing. To which the National Research Council replied, we're going to take our underused 4-story National Science Library building and we're going to turn it into a real wow. It's going to be $46 million. And it's going to be an engaging workplace, their phrase, not mine. They're going to have an atrium. There's going to be a staff gym, wellness rooms, not sure what that is, and most importantly, an executive suite.
Of course.
Davies, he's the president, makes $377,000 a year. He's going to get a suite out of this deal, and it's great, except the timing. And the Research Council will not explain this. They are famous spendthrifts, by the way. Last year, they spent $77 million on a clean energy office in Mississauga. This is my favorite. When was the last time you worked at a place that had a rooftop sun lounge, splash pad, and Brazilian walnut benches for workday relaxation? I don't remember that, but I never worked for the NRC.
I can't help but think, I mean, at $377K a year, but you need to have the executive suite in this $46 million renovation. I mean, we are entitled to our entitlements after all, aren't we, Tom?
Oh, hands down. But you know, Mitch Davies has a history. He used to be a senior assistant deputy minister at industry, and you'll never guess who his boss was in the day, was Francois Philippe Champagne. Now the finance minister who's saying, I'm tightening my belt. I mean it this time. So I think Mitch might have some some intel on this, and he knows it's a bunch of baloney, so why not get in while the getting's still good?
It's good to have friends in high places, isn't it? Yes, it is. Okay, I'm not an engineer. I'm probably the furthest thing from an engineer, but from afar, from my perch here in the studio, I've been rather impressed by the work that our Canadian Space Agency has been able to accomplish over the years, and I'm just wondering now if it's not as successful as it could have been, perhaps, or we've been hiring the wrong engineers to work there?
Canadian Space Agency, though it is not a legal requirement, have said, and they put this in black and white, that they are going to emphasize that, first of all, they're going to send out a questionnaire to all their 988 employees, ask them for their sexual preferences and gender identity, not a legal requirement. And the reason they're going to do that is so that they can give hiring preference to those people who identify as two-spirited, lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, etc. And this is going to be done in the name of, as you point out, identifying a key driver of success. You know what's interesting about these programs that are often ridiculed, Mike? They say they want to represent the general population. Stats Canada in the last census asked people if they were trans or identified as non-binary. And they did get a response. It was 0.3%. So if the space agency literally had one person on the payroll, they are representing the Canadian demographic. We're led to believe, though, that this was about politics. This was maybe about getting some favor with the head office. That would be the Privy Council. Unfortunately, the gender identity guy, he left town in January. His name was Trudeau. And so they kind of missed. We missed the script change, but nice try at the space agency.
All right, one more I need to ask you about before I let you go today, Tom. And I know this is the president of Seneca College, but this is going to have, I think, application here in the region of Waterloo that is home to Conestoga College. But the head of Seneca College says Canada has lost trust and credibility with its caps on foreign students.
Commons Immigration Committee, Mike, is grinding through hearings, and they are very hot, and MPs are very upset in terms of examining the foreign student program. And President Agnew of Seneca had a very unfortunate appearance. He said he was asked, well, what about housing? And Seneca was taking, in 2 years, 50,000 foreign students. The majority of their student body was foreign students. MPs asked him, well, did you check out the housing situation? Where were these 50,000 kids going to live? He said, no, we never looked at that. And he was asked, what about jobs? Did you look at what's the impact? And no, we never looked at. Okay, you have a food bank on campus. Did you ask how many are using it? No. He said, we want to be your partners in immigration, at which point MPs' heads exploded. They got the money. Taxpayers got the cost. MPs are so fed up with this system. By the way, this is not partisan. The Minister of Immigration in the day, Mark Miller, called out Seneca as a bad actor, where kids were taking courses that had no obvious commercial benefit, dropping out, filing refugee claims, and you got the bill.
We saw the same thing here in the region with Conestoga College, students crammed into apartments using a local charitable food program as a food bank or a free meal plan. It's incredible, the impact on local infrastructure, and it didn't seem like anybody at the top was paying any attention.
Oh, no, it was cruel. And you look at the numbers, these are national numbers. These aren't Ontario numbers. The Department of Immigration actually toted them up. In a single year, they told Parliament, number one, foreign student permits. Conestoga, 41,000 in 1 year. University of Toronto, 31,000. And Seneca, 24,000. I mean, this was more than UBC or McGill or University of Alberta, these very large institutions with storied histories. It was cruel, But someone made a lot of money. By the way, President of Seneca makes more than the Prime Minister, over $450,000 a year. He didn't want to talk about that.
Tom, I love talking about all of these things and more with you every week. Say hi to our buddy Ernie for me, okay?
It was going to be a great reunion. Thank you, Mike.
Enjoy your day. Bye now. Tom Korski, managing editor at the Black Clocks Reporter, the only reporter owned and operated newsroom covering our nation's capital. You can get a subscription for yourself by visiting blacklocks.ca. And Tom joins us every Wednesday morning on the program to bring some of that information to you here via our show.